Hello, folks. Thank you for dropping in yet again with me, Dr. Paris Monroe. If anyone is trying to get a hold of me, try to get a hold of me through my email, drmonroe@yahoo.com. That's Dr. period Monroe, Monrow, at yahoo.com. That'd probably be the best way to try to get a hold of me right now if you have any questions or answers. Um, Send me an email and I'll try to get to it. And if your email is good, you got a question, maybe we'll discuss that question and hopefully an answer right here on YouTube. Today I want to talk about PTSD, so I'm going to try to name this film, this YouTube video, um, PTSD-02. I think I have a 01 out there. I have not been out there a very long time on YouTube. Excuse me, on YouTube. I certainly have been out there quite a while with PTSD, and so I want to start broadcasting more and more about PTSD. So hopefully I'll stay pretty close to the subject, but I'm also very, if you know me at all, I'm going to probably get into the God thing quite a bit too. I think PTSD and God are very similar. I have a call here. I'm going to take this call, so hold on just a second. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. It was a text message from one of my PTSD people, so I thought I'd go ahead and take that. But I want to talk about mostly about PTSD. You're going to hear, I'm sure, I would think, a lot of preaching, if that's what you want to call it, about Jesus, Christ, Christianity, God, that sort of thing too. So beware of that. If that's too much for you to handle and you don't want to go there, then you might stop listening right now. But for those of you who decide to stay on, thank you. Many people have PTSD, trauma, agoraphobia. You know, a lot of people say I don't have PTSD. I say I have agoraphobia. Okay, fine. You're still traumatized. The thing with agoraphobia is you just don't know what caused your traumatic experience. You don't know what is causing you all the indecisiveness, fear, trembling, lack of sleep that's going on. The, the, the same symptoms between agoraphobia and PTSD. PTSD people pretty much, with a little bit of discussion, finally realize that their PTSD, especially the combat vets, is due to some sort of event in combat where there's bombs, bullets, and bodies, as I always say. Maybe their best friend got blown up, an IED, a mortar round, an RPG, small arms fire, or a Scud missile caused death, dying, and killing. And so they can say they have PTSD. They can identify what the, their stressor was, what the thing was that really shook them up. Agoraphobics have just as much symptoms, same symptoms as a PTSD, but if you ask agoraphobia, well, when did it all start? They don't know. But if you spend a few minutes, like, well, did something like this? How long ago did it happen? Well, 10 years ago, did mom die? Did dad die? Did your best friend die? Your sister, your brother? Someone died? Well, yeah. Well, how did you take that? Well, I took it very bad, and I think about it all the time. Well, all of a sudden, therefore, you don't have agoraphobia. You have trauma, PTSD trauma. Yeah. There's a hard thing to say. PTSD is pretty much tied to military combat things. You may not have been out there in the battlefield, shooting and killing, but maybe you were on top of the aircraft carrier flight deck, and a plane crashed, a chopper crashed, and there was all sorts of burning and explosions and people getting killed and tore up. Okay, is that PTSD? Yeah, that's PTSD. If something explodes and kills someone, is that PTSD? Oh yeah. If someone suicides right next to you, all of a sudden puts their gun in their mouth and pulls the trigger, and you saw all of it, is that PTSD? Yes, it is. Is mom or dad freaking out and just beating your butt for no reason at all when you were a young kid? Is that PTSD? Well, you have a hard time calling it PTSD, but is it trauma? Is it does it give you all the bad dreams, nightmares, night sweats as any PTSD person? Oh yeah. Do you really call it PTSD? Like I said, PTSD is mostly for the military vets or some sort of horrific car accident, fire, death, dying, killing type thing. Uh, Agoraphobia, we don't know what caused it, but we have all the same things. Trauma, traumatized people witness some horrific event, probably as a civilian, maybe as a military. Anyway, that's small potatoes in my estimation. That's not the point here. The point is you're traumatized, and this fills your head all the time, all day long. All day long, so many triggers, so many things making you remember that horrific event way back in the day when something horrible happened. And it fills your head all day long. The visions are in your head all day long. And at night, virtually every night, you have bad dreams, nightmares, night sweats, wake ups, lots of insomnia, tossing and turning, and your sleep is terrible. You're lucky if you get 3, 4 hours sleep a night. Um, that sort of thing goes on all the time. People get traumatized. Military combat vets certainly do out there in the battlefield or whatever. Scud missiles, RPGs, mortar attacks, IEDs, also small arms fire, ambushes, firefights. Yeah, there's lots of. And what are all of those? Those are all near death experiences. And does that scare us? That scares us because we've never been dead before, and we almost died, and we don't want to die. We want to live here forever. As lousy as this life is on this planet with all these horrific events going on with all these people, we still don't want to die. We still want to live on as long as we possibly can. Even if we're 90 some years old, we still don't want to die. We still want to hang on. And that's what I want to talk about too. Why do we want to hang on? What do we fear about death? One thing I say about death is graduation, folks. Graduation. We were looking forward to graduating from grade school, high school, maybe college. I say this all the time. But this life is nothing but training and practice, supposedly getting smarter and better in everything that we do. Right? That's one way of looking at it. We know we're not going to stay here forever. We know we're going to die and go somewhere. We don't know where. Some people say heaven. Some people say we go to hell. Some people say we just stop existing and everything is just pull the plug and we're not living anymore. And we go back to the same state, I guess, that we were before we were born. A state of total unknowing, non-existence, a total state of non-existence again, where no matter what we did all our life, our 60, 70, 80 years or more here on Earth, just goes poof, it goes for nothing. It's totally nothing. So are we supposed to surmise, therefore, that this life here on this planet, no matter how much good we do or bad or evil or good or whatever, is for nothing? It doesn't matter because once we're dead, our score is the same as everyone else's? Zero? Zero? That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. That is going to bug us. It's got to make sense. It's got to add up. It's got to be logical, rational, all add up, all the dots connected, and something like that don't make sense. I can't see how we can spend 60, 70, 80 years or more on this planet doing good things, maybe some good things for a bunch of people for a bunch of years, putting in our blood and sweat and tears into trying to build a life, trying to build a family, going to school, working, saving money, all that sort of stuff. And it just, when the moment we die, it's just like poof, nothing at all. That don't make sense at all. We're here for a reason. This is training and practice, folks. This is training and practice to see who's going to graduate and who is not, who's going to make the cut and who's going to get cut. And I think we have to look at that. We are being watched all the time to see how we handle everything. Everything that we do, how are we handling it? Are we handling it with good conscience? Are we handling where we want to get a good score? Are we handling it where we know that we are being watched, for instance, by God, and we want to please Him and make Him proud? You get a new job at the company ABC, whatever, and the boss, the supervisor, whoever, keeps a pretty close eye on you at first to see, how you're doing, to teach you, train you, that sort of thing, and to get a read off of you. Are you a good person? Are you really trying to do a good job? Or are you sloughing off and already finding ways to take shortcuts, cut corners and take shortcuts? Nothing but excuses. There's picking up on that to find out if they're going to keep you or not. Are you going to do a good job for them or not? Are you a conscientious worker, hard worker, dedicated? You're there every day right before the starting time, and you're there till after quitting time. You take your 10-minute breaks, your 15-minute breaks, your half-hour, hour lunch, whatever, and then you get right back to work again. Is that what you're doing, or are you goofing off and going slow and just watching the clock? The boss man is watching you to see how good an employee you are. Well, the boss man here in life is God, and He's watching you just as closely to find out what kind of a person you are. Are you the type of person He wants in His heaven? Or have you failed miserably? You don't do your chores, you don't do your duties, you don't do your responsibilities, you take shortcuts, cut corners, take shortcuts, nothing but excuses. You're not getting it done. You're not pleasing the boss man. That's why we're here on this earth, folks. We got to understand that. That's why we're here on this earth. So what's bigger in our mind? Trying to please God and make Him proud, or the horrific event we went through in the last war with the car accident, with the carjacking, with the mugging, with the robbery, burglary, the rape? What's the biggest thing in our mind? Are we blaming God for all those bad things, and we don't want to go nowhere near God because we figure that if there was a God, He wouldn't have let this sort of thing happen to us? What is it in our thoughts all day long? The bad events that happen to us, God is not real happy that we had these bad events happen to us. Did He allow them? I think He did. Yeah, He allowed them. Why? They were our wake-up call. He saw that we are not following Him at all. We don't believe in Him. We don't buy Him. We don't worship Him. We're not trying to please Him and make Him proud. We're not showing our thanks and appreciation. And He wants us in His heaven. He wants us in His heaven. This land is a temporary test trial life to see who's going to make it and who's not. You got to understand it. That we are being watched, we are being tested, we are being graded. Are we trying to pass the test? Are we trying to please the boss man, God, and make him proud? Or are we just blowing it off? Well, he saw that we were just blowing it off. And if we are just blowing it off, we're not going to make it into his heaven, and he wants us to make it. So does he send all sorts of tragedies and travesties to us? Hopefully, through that tragedy, travesty, we'll find him someday. That's what he's doing, folks. That's what he's doing. He's trying to wake us up, shake us up, so that we see that he is real, he does exist, he loves the dickens out of us, and he wants us to make it into heaven. Work with God. Do not work against God, work with God. I know so many of you people say that you believe in God. Many of you people say you don't believe in God. Many others of you say that you believe in God, but in all of your actions and and behaviors and mannerisms and things that you do, actions and activities, you certainly don't believe in God. Because if you truly believed in God the way you're supposed to, you wouldn't be doing anywhere near some of the things that you're doing. But you're doing them anyway, which basically proves that you kind of at times will say that you believe in God, but your activities and behaviors and stuff show that you really don't. You really don't. And God sees that. You know, he can spot that a mile away. If we get a new girlfriend, boyfriend, we can tell whether they really love us or not. That don't take too long to figure that one out. And we love it when they love us back because we want to love them, but we got to have them love us back. Otherwise, love that is not soon returned, the love that is not returned soon dies out. We would love to love this person, but they won't love us back, and so after a while, our love will burn out. It could be quite a while, folks, but it's going to happen eventually because we need to have their love, them loving us, so that we can keep loving them. So anyway, we got to really think of this thing here. To us, the trauma that we went through is bigger in our minds than anything, a lot bigger than God. And all that proves is that we don't know very much about God at all. And why? Because we're not doing nothing to learn about God. Are we reading his Bible? No. Are we going to church? I could say a bunch about going to church. So I'll just go back to, are we reading the Bible? Are we reading the Bible? Are we reading other good books about God, Christianity, eternity? No. So we're not doing anything to learn about it. So if we don't learn about God and eternity and Christianity and what this life is all about, then we don't have that knowledge, and of course we're not going to believe in God. The more we read and study about God, the more we believe in him, because we see so much of it every day in our lives. We see it all the time. And God becomes more and more believable. And that's exactly what he wants. He wants to build that strong relationship. And that's our responsibility, that's our duty here on earth. I know we start off pretty dumb. We don't know very much about anything. But by the time we get to be full-grown adults, 40 years old, something like that, or older, we should have it together by then. We should have it together. We should stop acting like a little kid or a teenager or something like that, and we should start acting pretty maturely, coming to the realization somewhere along the line that there is a God. He is real. He does exist. He wants us to make it into his heaven. It's totally fabulous, totally fantastic, and we don't want to miss it. We don't want to blow it. So then hopefully at that time we finally turn it around and try to do everything we can to please God and make him proud. Just like we wish our kids would please us and make us proud, that they would brush their teeth and comb their hair and clean their rooms and do good in school and take out the trash and all these chores. We would love that. Do they do that? No, they don't. But would the parents love it if the kids did? Oh, they sure would. Would God love it if us kids, us adults now, kids, his kids, but we're adults now, here on earth we're adults, to him we're still kids, would he love it if we did such a spectacular job here too, purposely trying to please him and make him proud? Would that please him and make him proud? It surely would. Would we be going to heaven then? Oh, sure. This is why I say, if we know why we're here, what we're here for, what we're supposed to do, what our purpose is, and we do it, we will know what happens when we die. We will go to heaven. Heaven will be graduation day. Dying would be graduation day. When we finally leave this planet of training and testing and practice, and we finally graduate and go up to the big house, heaven, and live with God forever. You don't want to miss it, folks. You don't want to miss it. We'll talk about this more. That's all for today. Thanks so much for listening in, tuning in, that sort of thing. Again, if you try to get a hold of me, that's Dr. Monroe at yahoo.com. My email, that's the best way right now. I'll change that as time goes on. But right now, Dr. Monroe at yahoo.com. That's Dr. Monroe, Monrow, at yahoo.com. That is the best way to get a hold of me. And I will see you folks next time. I do plan on putting on another video soon about PTSD, God, what the purpose of life, that sort of thing. So stay tuned. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.